And I saw his feet, and I saw his robe, and it was amazing. That's all. I can't even describe it. Like, you know how they tell you there's colors in heaven? You don't know? There is. There's colors in heaven, and I tried to describe it. I was trying to tell my holiness last night. I was like, I can't describe it. I can't like say it's like a shade of pink mixed with orange or whatever, because it's nowhere near it. It was just so clear. And I could see the throne, and I couldn't see his face, but I could see his hands, I could see his arms, I could see like from the neck down where he was sitting. And behind him there were so many colors. So many colors. And I just like stopped for a minute. I was like, whoa, this is cool. And I just stopped, right? And I saw how Bubba the lion, he just jumped and sat on God's lap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, but I got there too. I got to his lap somehow. I sat on God's lap. Man, it was awesome. And I saw his hand, and on his left hand, I remember he had it spread out, and I saw myself in his hand. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. And I hear God telling me, I will always love you. I will never let you go, ever. And I struggle with a lot of stuff, so that was good for me. And I was like, okay. And he said some more stuff, but that's for me. Okay, so then on his other hand, after he was done talking to me, he showed me his other hand. You guys know how there's like holograms? It's not a hologram, but it looked like a hologram. It was like if I could see the temple and I could see everything, I could see everything in his hand. And I could see people moving. And I knew that it was what was happening at that moment. But it was in his hand. It's kind of weird. It was really cool. And I could see everything, and I could hear them, and I could see, and somebody was like walking across the altar, and I didn't obviously see it, I was still in God's lap. I still saw Bubba, I still saw myself in his other hand, but I saw it in his hand. It was really cool. And I'm like, oh look, it's us. And he's like, yeah, that's you guys. And I was like, well, do you have to tell me something, God? Like, why am I up here? Why am I seeing this? And Bubba got off. I stayed on God's lap, but Bubba jumped off. And it was like he was sitting at Jesus' feet, or God's feet. And Bubba got mad. Have you seen like on Animal Planet, when lions get mad, how they stand up, how they stick out their necks, and like you see how the mane like pops out everywhere, and like you can tell they're mad and that they start growling and stuff? Bubba did the same thing.
Head's in the way.
I was like, well, I guess you're mad. And I turned to God. I was like, God, what's going on? And I saw, it was like a tornado coming straight for God's hand. It was crazy. It was coming straight for God's hand. And I could tell, era para destrucción. It wasn't no good thing. It was like a tornado of dark, nasty colors, and it sounded disgusting. It sounded like a mess, but it was a tornado, and it was coming straight for us. And Bubba started growling, like he got mad. And I was like, God, what's happening? And I started to bawl. Like, I started to cry. It was crazy. And I was like, God, don't let anything happen to us. Don't let anything happen to us. And I got really defensive. I was like, you did not let us come all the way over here just so that we can get destroyed. That's not the point. The point is that we come here and we leave with the new blessing.
Yes.
And I was like, God, don't let anything happen to us. Basically, God told me, it was like, there's some people who will believe you. There's some who won't. You have to decide.
Yes.
That, whatever it was, when Bubba started growling and I started like praying like crazy, it stopped. Bubba like made a really big roar and it stopped. It dropped. And it was like, the tornado was like going, and then it like fell. And then it all fell into dust. And I could hear them. it was like demons. Hear the demons. And they were mad. They were like, why did you have to bring her up here? Why? Why? We were going straight for them. And I could hear them as they were screaming. They were screaming no and why. And apparently they hate me and they hate us. They were mad. But the thing is, I'm not here to, I'm gonna tell you that you're all safe. You decide if you want to be safe or not. You decide whether you want a blessing or not. You decide if you come here and you sit and you're just like, oh, it's another convention. I'll be fine. I'll be fine for the next week, and then after this week, after we get back from convention, it's like we have like runner's high for a while, and then after that it's like, and we die. And then we're just dead for the rest of the year, until next convention, or next campamento, or whatever other cosa regional or distrital that we have. You have to decide whether you want to be safe or not. You have to decide whether, don't call him BUBBA if you don't want to. Call him whatever you want. You have to decide if you want his protection or not. You have to decide that on your own. Because what's gonna happen at this convention, it's amazing. It's amazing. Because God knows exactly why he lets things happen, and God knows who is who. La miel es mucha, los obreros son pocos. There's plenty of us here. You decide if you want to be an obrero. We are all called to be anointed. We are all anointed. We all have the authority. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. God's not gonna like spoon feed you everything. He won't. Once God has given you what you need, work with it. It's like the preacher was saying last night. People come up here and ask for the same thing over and over and over after God has already said yes, or whatever your answer is. Use it. Don't keep asking, because if you're in here at this convention to actually keep asking, it's useless. Absolutely useless. You already have your answer. Use it and trust God. Believe me, if you're not in comunión, put yourself in comunión. But trust me, and that thing, that nasty tornado, it was bad. I can't describe it. It was nasty and it was bad and it was scary, and I felt myself backing up on God's lap because even though I was getting defensive and I got mad, I was also scared. So you decide what you want to do. If you want to take this testimony vision, whatever, you take it. If you don't, allá tú con el Señor. But God bless y'all.
Amen.